Hi, what is up guys? Maniac here, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about one of the worst experiences I had to deal with yesterday. So, now I say thus far, and one of, because it's definitely not the worst. As you guys can tell by the title, I did the trophy or achievement for Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC, the one and only. Basically what this achievement is, I'm gonna call it trophy because I play PS4. So for all you Xbox users, whenever I say trophy, just know I also mean achievement. Now, what this trophy entails is basically where you have to go up against Spectre level enemies in the Armax Arsenal arena on normal, hardcore, or insanity mode. Now, there are different ways of cheating this. I will talk about that in a moment, but there are some ways. Now, there is one way that I went at it, and it is difficult. It is a lot more difficult than you realize. Now, it varies from person to person. Personally, I'm not good at the game. Well, I'm not the best at the game. I am pretty good, but I'm not the best at it. There are some people who are the best at it, and they do it on insanity and without taking damage or whatever. They have all those like mini. They have like all of those handicaps minus the one that affects them positively. So some of them actually do that, but whatever. Now, personally, for me, this one was the worst experience I've ever had. Next to beating the game on insanity, beating the entire trilogy on insanity mode. That one had to have been the worst because that is actually the first time I have ever rage quit in like years. So what makes this one difficult is you're basically going up against Shepard with the different classes. Now it is a mirror match, so my first thought was I was playing an adept character, which is like pure biotics. So I thought that maybe that's what it was it's just me um that it's just my Shepherd with like nothing but adept um Shepherd, but no, it is actually Shepherd in all of the classes. So the first round is just Shepherd and the Soldier, Adept, and Engineer classes, since those are only like one specific thing. Like Soldier is just um combat oriented, Adept is biotic oriented, and Engineer is tech oriented. And in the second round, you have the mix of the two classes into each character. So second round is Vanguard, which is combat and biotic oriented. Sentinel, which is tech and biotic oriented, and Infiltrator, which is tech and combat oriented. And that's all the second round is. And then the third round is a mix of all of them. So you get like engineers and vanguards and sentinels and adepts in there. And this was the worst thing I have had to endure for the sole purpose of the fact of those stupid vanguards. Now, I will tell you the setup I used and kind of why I went at it. So first, I'll go over Squadmates because that is something that you can actually do, something you can actually have to get the trophy. At first, I used Garrus and Zaid because Garrus has overload, and since there are shields that they can deal with, it makes the most sense. And Zaid because he has disruptor ammo. But then, as I was constantly doing the whole Garrus and Zaid thing, I came to the realization that I think Miranda would be a bit better since her Cerberus officer affects all squad mates, not just her. Like on how there are certain squad mates that their bonuses to powers only affects them. So that's kind of where I went with that. And I did end up beating it with Miranda and Garrus. But I did take a gamble with Miranda, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you can't really change her powers as well as her levels. So whatever levels her powers are on, that's basically all she has. You cannot change it for any reason. If you can, I know nothing about it. Um, and Miranda's Cerberus officer power That's what I'm calling it. What it does is that since it affects all squad mates, it is possible to have a benefit to tech and biotic upgrades since she's a sentinel, not a biotic, not just a biotic. Um, so I kind of took a gamble with Miranda, thinking that maybe it would upgrade my tech and biotics. I didn't realize. I thought it was just biotics or tech. I didn't realize that it was tech and biotics. So I took a risk thinking it would just be biotics. Because again, I'm an adept character, which means I use biotics, which was pretty useless because I only used it for like shockwave and warp. Because every shepherd has shield and armor. Yes, even the biotic characters they have shields, not barriers. Um, so that's also the reason I brought Garrus along. I also brought Miranda along for her warp and her overload, which was very useful and it came in handy. Now, early on, I had an issue with like the weapons that Miranda had at the start because, again, I don't. You can't really use her as a squad mate in Mass Effect 3, so she's basically stuck with whatever is standard. And I had a complaint with that, but I didn't really change it because I forgot to. And then I got so fed up with all of it that I decided to just leave. I bought some stuff. I bought some stuff to improve weapon damage, power damage for the warp and all that. I even bought some upgrades to use for Miranda's gun, which was, I think, almost pretty useless because I didn't need it in the end. So I did change up her gun twice. I gave her the Tempest the first time, and then the second time around, I just gave her the Blood Pack SMG, which is a really good gun to use as a whole. So yeah, and it took me It took me 2 hours to beat this. Another thing that you can use that doesn't really prevent you from getting the trophy is if you get the handicap, the pro handicap, or I guess the buff where you do increased weapon damage. That is something I'm not really sure if it was good or not. Um, it really showed if you did a lot of headshot damage, which if you spec into like a lot more headshot damage, then that could be useful, especially if you're playing a soldier and your aim is pretty good. Then it'd be a lot easier to do that. So I used Garrus and Miranda, and I had I had the buff of increased weapon damage. Now the other thing I did, the wiki that I used said to use Pain Train, the map Pain Train, but that pissed me off even more because there's like barely any space to run around. There's stuff in the way. So what I learned was, so how I did it was I used the RMAX Arsenal Arena Classic map, which you have to buy with bronze tokens. Um, Now, in case some of you guys don't really know, I just breeze through it like it's nothing. Miranda isn't standard with the RMAX Arsenal Arena. You basically have to buy an ally license to have her. The only ones that are standard is like all of your squad mates, so like Edie, Garrus, Liara, Caden, or Ashley. James, Javik, if you have him, and Tally, if she survived Mass Effect 2. Same thing with Garrus. And same thing with the rest of these, with the exception of Rex, only if he survived. So basically, you're pretty much limited to like the only squad mate. You're pretty much limited to the squad mates you have in the in the original without like so if no one survived, well, if very little people survived the suicide mission and Rex died, then you're basically limited to so basically, or like if Garrus and Tally died, then you're basically limited to Edie, Liara, James, Caden, or Ashley if they didn't die during the Citadel, and Javik if you have him. So that's pretty much it, and plus the two from the suicide mission that survived, which could be Jacob or Grunt, because I hear that people don't really like Grunt a whole lot. So yeah, yeah, it took me 2 hours to beat. I have gone close multiple times. I have gone to 3 rounds multiple times. It was not fun. Um, the the one I have died on the most was probably either round one or round two. Because I'm not gonna come out and say I'm the best. Hell, even now, I am not the best. So yeah, with that, if you want my advice, just do this. Now there was one way that I saw that like you can cheat the system, and that is like on the third round, upon getting the final like diamond thing, you could do it on like narrative, which means that it's pretty easy to do. But then once you're on the third round and you're dealing with the final person, you pause and then you switch it to normal, and then you can kill the final shepherd, and then there's that. But I'm not really sure if that works, and I didn't want to do that because that just seems way too easy, and I'll get carried away thinking that I'm on. Sorry, that I'm on like the easiest, or that I'm on normal, and I'm like, this is pretty easy, and then I finish it, I get all excited, and it's like, well, you didn't get it because you were playing on narrative. Remember, you were playing on narrative. So now I would have to go back and do that whole thing again, and it would just be a pain in the ass to do. Um, yeah, what I've noticed is that the problem is that they go for you, not your squad mates as well. They target you, which makes sense. It's a mirror match, so they're gonna target you anyways. But and I didn't realize it until I started to notice that Garrison Miranda like barely died at all. So I was like, what the hell is going on? As it turns out, yeah, they target you. So squishy companions or squad mates like Edie and Liara are fine to use. But again, I used Garrus and Miranda, which I didn't realize until like later, as I was trying it. Those are the two squad mates I go to the most in Mass Effect 2. I legit go for Garrus and Miranda like every time in Mass Effect 2, unless it's a loyalty mission of someone else. But even then, so yeah, I don't really have advice for this. I would just say um, I'm just tell you guys how I do it, and if you guys are struggling with that, there you go. I was an adept that used the Blood Pack SMG with the recoil upgrades, which means I kind of got all of them during the Leviathan DLC. The Citadel is one I always do last, aside from like the Cerberus headquarters. So like after Horizon, I would go and do like all the DLCs and whatnot. So after I did the Leviathan DLC, I got all the SMG recoils, which means that my guns was 70% more accurate, so that was pretty good to have. I also had the SMG scope, which really helped for like long distance shots, especially with the Armax Arsenal Arena Classic, something like that. Really helped. I got a jump on some of them pretty early on. And then for pistols, I just used the Paladin with, I think, the scope. And I can't remember what else. Maybe it was the increased damage. I'm not sure. I can't remember. More likely it was probably the scope and the increased to ammo capacity, because I didn't use the M11 suppressor thing just because of the fact that I just feel like it wasn't upgraded fully. It was still level 1, which would have been fine, but I like to use upgrade weapons. All of the weapons I used was upgrade to level 5, which means that all of the weapons that Miranda had were upgraded to level 5, and so was Garrus's. I did have to change up Garrus's also because he used the phase 10 for the most part, just because the Turian Reapers, the Marauders, use it. So I figured, hey, why not let Garrus use it? But then I gave him the Matic later on, so that was really helpful. Another reason I used Garrus was because he has armor-piercing bullets. Now, Kasumi does too, but since I was using Miranda, I wanted to use Garrus instead because Kasumi and Miranda have the same weapon types. The only difference is that Miranda's a lot more useful because she has overload, warp, and can benefit your character greatly. Um, but Kasumi just has Shadow Strike, overload, and armor piercing ammo, which is fine, but at the cost of having the same weapon types as Miranda. I didn't want that. So there's that. Trying to think if there's anything else. For armors, in case you guys are interested, I kind of, since I was an adept character, I mostly spec'd into like power damage, and then later on I got the Kawashi visor, as well as some like weapons and headshot damage. So basically, all of my power damage and headshot damage and weapon damage were basically the same percentage. Um, so there's that. And overall, this was a weird one. One I am not doing again. I listened to the same song for a couple of hours, and then switched to another one. And at that point, it got easier. I was more focused because it's like one of my favorite songs. So yeah, if you guys want, don't like seek this out for advice because there are definitely better people. But if you do seek this out for advice, then yeah, there you go. You know my options. I will say that I will say like don't really spec around like since I am playing an adept, you don't really have to be an adept. I'd say it's just like use armors that spec around your character. And also I'd also say definitely use Miranda, but definitely use someone else like somewhat like Garrus, maybe like Kaden, or if you want to use Kasumi, go ahead. I just use Garrus because he has armor piercing ammo and he has overload, and he doesn't have the same weapon types as Miranda, so that was pretty good. He uses sniper rifles and assault rifles, while Miranda uses SMGs and pistols. So there's that. And with that, I even tried ED for a time just to see what it was like. Oh no, I didn't use it. My plan was to like try out like different squad mates. Like, okay, does Edie work well with Garrus or Zaid, or does she work better with Miranda or Kasumi? But I didn't. I got tired of it. I just had I decided to like get the bronze or the silver tokens, whichever, and then transform those into or convert those into bronze tokens, and then I would instead put it all. I bought Zaid with that, and then I held off a bit, and then after a while I bought Miranda, and then I bought Kasumi just to be safe. Which I didn't end up using Kasumi by the end of it. So yeah, that is my take on the one and only trophy. One I will not be doing again. And I was also pretty worried about doing the weapon increased weapon damage buff because I was like, oh, if I have to do all this again without it, I am gonna be so angry. Because I was already at it for 2 hours, and I was like, I don't want to have to do another. I don't have to do another 2 hours with just this or without this. But thankfully, it wasn't. It counted. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna end this episode here. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment down below if you've done this achievement and how you went at it, or trophy, I guess. Let me know what character you were, what campaigns you did, and what map, if that really matters to you. And also what weapons you used. Because I'm kind of curious to see how other people did it. I understand that there were some people who like just used Garrus. They like give him the best that he can have, and they just went from there. But personally, I don't know. Not something I'm really a fan of. I prefer to be in the battle. I'd rather not let Garrus do all the work, you know. So I have thought about it, just like having Garrus maxed out everything, and then just me and Miranda just chill back, but she would have fought eventually, and I didn't want that. So, yeah. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I talk about video games a, a lot less than I really planned on doing. But occasionally I do talk about like other stuff. But for the most part, I do talk about video games a whole lot because that's all I ever do with my life. And if you do subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload because I don't really have a schedule. And if you really want to help out this channel even more, share this with a friend. Um, and yeah, Newsomaniac out.